Well, let me get started.
Welcome, Tom. Good to have you on.
Hey, Tom, sorry about that.
What do you guys?
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No
I just
problem.
want everybody out there, welcome to our webinar. Once again, thank you for joining us on our Thursdays with Terry. As women's national team coach Terry Steiner joins us and walks us through training while they're dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic. Before I get started, I need to do a couple of things. I'd like to thank Ambit Energy and Team USA Energy for making this possible. And while I'm at it, I want to remind people that Coach Frank Baumgartner is here to monitor questions. Now, if you have a question, right down at the bottom, okay, there's a chat button. Just type it in the chat, and we will try to get to as many questions as we can. All right? So, we are really excited tonight. Not only do we have Coach Steiner, but we are so fortunate to have head wrestling coach of the Ohio State wrestling team, Tom Ryan. So, gentlemen, welcome. Thank you so much, Tom, for being here. Terry, it's always good to have you, buddy.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, and you know, I want to, before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out. You know, we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of different things, but nothing probably more important than Coach Ryan's got a book out, Chosen Suffering. And we're really excited to be able to get an opportunity to touch on that, talk about that, dig into that. And so let's start off, gentlemen, with where we left off last time. We got through journaling. We did a lot of that talk, Terry. Let's get into some visualization, you know, what you work with in there. This is probably a great time to be working on that kind of stuff. So meditation and visualization, just pick it up from there, will you, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, once you've been in the sport for a number of years, you know, you can actually get a lot out of visualization. And, you know, and the studies have shown that, you know, actually doing a technique or visualizing a technique, there's not a lot of difference to it. Right? I mean, there's not a lot of difference if you can go through and feel the move and bring in all the senses while you're visualizing that. I mean, you can get a long ways with it. So, you know, just meditating first, right? And getting yourself to a calm, stable place and where you can really relax and really put your mind and your energies towards the visualization. So really do the meditation just to get you in a calm, stable place, right? And then after that, then, you know, the visualization, you can do a number of things. You can do it for technical reasons and working on, you know, the gut wrench technique or the high crutch technique and really seeing yourself in there and doing the move. And, you know, I mean, shoot, I could bring it back to days when Tom and I were in the practice room. Maybe the only time I was scoring when I was visualizing, you know. But
That's classic.
anyways, I mean, you got to bring, you know, that's a huge part of training is seeing yourself being successful and seeing yourself doing things, right? And that's always important, right? Seeing yourself getting your hand raised. You have to believe and see yourself being successful before that is ever going to happen. And you know, you can't just, I told once as a young kid that, you know, when you're trying to improve, and you have to be thinking about it. You have to be seeing that in your mind over and over and over. And that visualization piece is a huge part of it. But it may go beyond that. It may be seeing yourself in tough situations, right? Where you're down by 5 points and there's 30 seconds left, and how are you going to come back and do that, right? And so it's putting yourself in maybe some adversarial situations and seeing yourself come through those situations. But the visualization piece is a part of training. The mental side of the sport is just a part of training as everything else is. It just so happens that most of the time, you know, we tend to spend our time in the physical part of training, whether that's, you know, doing the technique over and over, whether that's lifting weights or running sprint laps or things like that. And now is the time that that's taken away from us. So what can we do, right? And the visualizing part of it is just one of those things that we can do to help move ourselves forward. And because again, you know, like I've talked about before, we can't use this time frame of COVID-19 as an excuse, right? Next July for the national team is going to come, right? The Olympics are going to be here before we know it, and nobody really cares what you use this time for, right? And we got to get more out of it than the rest of the world, and so this is one of the things that we can do, and we need to be focused on, because we have some control over that, right? And we don't know when we're going to get back on the physical mat again, right? We don't know when those days are going to open up for us again. So this is a powerful tool that we need to be using right now. So,
Ryan?
Yeah, no, for sure. First of all, it's just good to hang out with you guys. And Terry, Terry and I, obviously we're teammates. He was someone that made a huge difference in my life. He and his brother were two of the leaders. It's amazing, leaders at Iowa back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's hard to believe it was 30 years ago, right? I mean, it seems like yesterday, but time flies. And so it's just good to hang with you guys. Absolutely. The visualization piece is so important. I remember as a kid in high school, once I fell in love with the sport, I don't advise this, because when you're in class, you should be focusing on what the teacher is saying. But I would be in class writing down literally every move that I knew. If I have an inside tie with my left hand, I have, I take his wrist with my right hand, I tap his head. Like, I would write down every move. Now, that wasn't in every class, but I would do it now and then, during classes. If the teacher had me a little bit bored, I would find things to do that were more productive, I thought. But the visualization piece is so important. There's two really good movies that I've watched recently that touch on this, and they're both, right, these guys are both elite. So the one movie, if you haven't seen it, it's a must see. It's called The Dawn Wall. It's a climbing movie, and the other, they're both climbing movies. The other one is Alex Holland when he free soloed. He climbed. Oh my gosh, I'll forget the name of the rock, but he went without ropes. And both of them talked about how they spent 6 years on the rock, right? In order before they climbed it, 6 years. But when they weren't on it, they knew every nook and cranny of the rock. They saw it. They saw where their finger went. Now these people are on, if we had a spectrum of super elite, psychotic, driven nutcases, they're at the top spectrum. And at the bottom spectrum, you have the couch potato that won't get off, wants to play video games all day and sit on his can. So that's it. We're not even playing video games, just sit there. So that's the realm we have. Super intense, incredible, psychotic, wants to be the best that ever walked on the planet, and the guy that won't get off the couch. Well, these guys were at that end, and they literally, and he would write, they would journal. They got off the rock and they would journal. Right finger goes here, right, like he could actually see where things were going. So, I mean, Coach Steiner knows what he's talking about. Visualization is so incredibly important, particularly now, as he said, COVID-19. I mean, it's hard to get into a wrestling room, but you can get a lot better by visualizing. So.
Perfect. Yeah, so I love that you bring up journaling, because we touched on that a lot, and I feel so strongly about it. I noticed that, Coach Steiner, you talk about giving yourself grace. Don't be too hard on yourself right now. You want to expand on that?
Well, it was actually brought forward by one of our national team athletes. It's a tough time right now, and I think that high-level athletes they're perfectionists to a large degree, right? They're looking to be the best at whatever they do, and she just reminded everyone, the rest of the national team, we need to let ourselves, be not at the top of our game right now. It's okay to be a little distant from winning the Olympic gold at the moment, right? And so, it's a time to reinvent ourselves. It's a time that we don't have to be perfect. It's a time that we can make some mistakes in what we're doing, and we don't have to be so rigid in our plans and things like that. So that's really what I'm getting at with that.
Sure.
Coach?
Yeah, I don't know if did I mute myself? Yeah, no. So interestingly enough, when I got to Iowa and trained with the Steiners, I mean, these guys were, in the long history, I've been in the sport, right? I've been coaching now for 28 years, started wrestling in 7th grade. So I don't know how many years ago that was, but it's been a long time. and they fall. The Steiners fell like these rock climbers. These guys were lunatics, right? They were at the highest extreme of work. They could handle so much. And when you train with them, you just learn how critical you had to be so good at the fundamentals, right? The basics. And at Ohio State, when our guys come in, here's the first thing we teach them. We teach them 3 things. And this is what, I mean, my wife, you know, I mean, I'm 50 now. I still am a terrible listener, but I'm working at it, right? But there's 3 things, right? There's 3 things we start with. We teach them how to listen. We teach them how to speak, and we teach them how to write. And they do all these things in leadership meetings that we have with our team. Listen, you know, the power of listening, the power of speaking concisely and saying exactly what you want to say. And because, you know, the reality now is a lot of kids, listen, you know, for me at home, every night there was dinner at the table. I was always talking to my family. These days, it's tough to have a family dinner. Kids, for the most part, they're communicating on their phones, right? We know this too. We know that a study showed about 23% of Americans right now, their best friend they've never met in person.
Wow.
That's mind-blowing data. Yeah. Like, what do you mean you never met them in person, right? So it's so important that we teach, you know, these fundamentals, right? In the sport, it's stance and motion, right? You see these high-level guys, these elite-level wrestlers, stance and motion has become, right? It's the fundamentals of the sport. So, yeah, just really important this time to journal, getting it out of your head on paper. It changes something chemically in the brain. Getting it down onto paper is really important. You know, being creative now is just important. And to Terry's point, Coach Steiner's point, listen, suffering doesn't have to happen every single time you train. Like, you don't have to go to this deepest, darkest place and bring yourself to pure misery. So the next day, you're just not looking forward to it. You gotta be intelligent about it. And one of the things that Gable was so good at, you know, he was brilliant at, listen, you can't ask me to torture myself again. And he just knew when to push, he knew when to pull back. And I think those are some of the things that makes, you know, Terry such a great coach. You get a feel for that. You learn that in a system that it was prevalent. So that was a long answer, man.
No, that was great. That was great. And you know what? It brings me to my next finding the passion and purpose each day. You know, Coach Steiner, Terry, and I, we've talked about that. I know we touched on it, Tom. The love of the sport. Can you guys just go into that for us?
Well, I'll go first. I mean, I think this is all of our jobs, right? I mean, this is the key to life, I think, right? Is finding the passion in each day and waking up and being excited about each day. I mean, anyone can be excited about, you know, the trip coming up or the competition coming up, but can you be excited about getting up and doing the job again? Can you be excited about the mundaneness of training day after day after day? Because that's what's going to separate the champion from the rest of the pack, right? Is the person that can do that, the person that can really find, you know, and make every day a gold medal day. Because it can't just be another day. It can't just be you know, be like, you just can't have another day of training. It has to be special. And you've got to find the love in it, the passion in it, the love for what you're doing. That's when you can expect gold at the end of it, right? But you have to have that along the journey, and you have to feel that along the journey every day. And that's hard. That's hard to do, right? That's hard to do when you know, I look back at my high school career, and you know, my brother and I, we lived out in the country, and we'd get up in the mornings and we'd run. Well, we lived in North Dakota. I mean, there was many days in the middle of winter during wrestling season when it was 20, 30 below. And it didn't feel good getting up and doing what you're doing. There had to be a different purpose to that, right? And you had to find the passion in what you were doing, because you certainly weren't finding the love in the climate outside.
Right.
And so I think that's a large part of where I learned it. But you know, I looked at my father, who, I don't know if he ever really found his passion, right? and he went to work every day to put a meal on the table, right? And to get insurance and things like that so he could take care of his family. You know, we're doing something ultimately that we want to do, right? That we've chosen to do. And, you know, so you gotta be grateful for the opportunities that we have and that we're in. I'm grateful for the position I'm in at USA Wrestling, being the women's national team coach. I'm grateful every day, right? And I've been in the position for 18 years, and there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for that. It doesn't mean I enjoy every moment, right? But for the most part, it's a great life.
Yeah. Listen, I had the blessing of feeling his passion for the sport as a training partner, he and his brother. They had me so tired at times, I thought I was seeing double. And I was seeing double. There were two of them. Like, which one is this? Get off of me. And trust me, if they got on top of you, they would never let you go. And I tell my team now that to this day. I mean, if you got taken down by a Steiner, you got ridden the rest of practice. So you learn how to get out, right? You learn how to get out. And that's way more miserable than getting beat in a match. I mean, a match, you're only getting ridden for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, but in practice, it could be 60 minutes. And your arms like this. But anyway, the reality of that, right? The reality of that is that if you don't, at some point, there's a veering off. There's a veering off between the ones that are really good at it and the ones that are elite at it. And the ones that are really good at it, they really, really like it. And the ones, in order to become elite at something, this deep passion has to burn in you. This deep love for it. For me, listen, the reality was I was good at some sports, but wrestling was my best sport. So I mean, I got cut from most sports, and it was like, listen, I want to make a difference in this world. I want to get out of this situation. I want to do something with my life. And the reality was, it wasn't going to be basketball, right? I mean, I wasn't going to stuff anybody. So ultimately, it was like, look, I'm not going to be great at basketball, but I can be great at wrestling. As soon as I got in the room, it's like, you know what? So, when you sense that, hey, I can be really good at this, it helps move you forward. It starts to become like an identity. Yeah, I'm a wrestler. That's right, I'm a wrestler, and I work really hard. And becomes like it becomes almost a label that you have. Hey, there's Steiner, man. That dude works hard in the hall. He's walking through the hallway. That guy's crazy, And so it becomes that, and that will get you so far. At some point, that won't be enough, right? Just because you're good at it. You got to get to the point with this deep, deep love and deep passion for it. And, the other thing, and Terry touched on it, is that, look, you can't always trust your feelings, right? We can't always trust our feelings. This is something that Snyder was really, just really good at. So I walk in the wrestling room and, I don't feel great that day. Okay. You don't have to feel great every day. So you don't have to trust your feelings. Man, I know this. If every decision I made was feelings based, I would be in big trouble, right? My life would be in big trouble, right? So there's a balance between, we want the perfect unison between the heart, the feelings, and the head. Hey, I don't feel great today. Okay, that doesn't, head, control the feelings, calm this dude down. You can still get a great workout in. And sometimes, right, you walk into a practice and you were feeling, just okay. And it was your best practice. I know for me, when I wasn't feeling good walking in the door, if my passion was low, this is what I did. Terry, will you wrestle me today? Right? You know the state that you're in, and you say, okay, I need to go with someone who's crazy, right? I need to go with someone who every single time they're in the room, they drive themselves at a high level, right? So even in high school, I would run with runners, right? I would run with guys that could run a 4:10 miles. Mike Hitchcock could run a 4:10 mile. Jerry Castor could run a 4:30 mile. I could run a 5-minute mile. So they pulled me through. So it's really important that feelings do not become, we're in a world where feelings mean everything. Like, hold on now. Your feelings, don't relax with the feelings a little bit. I'm a mushy guy. I can feel, I get the feelings, but please balance that with some common sense and using your head.
Yeah. I'd like to move on to Frank. You had a question for Coach Ryan.
Yeah. So I've got several here actually, but first one we'll stick with is is related to your book. Okay. So, we talked about this the other day, that, when I saw your book, I saw the title, saw the cover, everything, man, I was really excited. But I was a little perplexed by it because it said chosen suffering, but yet it talks about leadership and being a lead. And I thought your response was so darn good. So, I want to make sure that everyone here got a chance to hear that too. What's your book about, and just how's that tie into what you're talking about right now?
Well, I think that, if I talk to Mrs. Steiner or Mr. Steiner, right, when I was if I was recruiting them, right, and they said to me, Coach Ryan, do you think my boys have what it takes? Right? Do you think my boys, Troy and Terry, have what it takes to excel at the next level? Right? The first thing I would say is, how much are they willing to suffer? Right? How much are they willing to give? And suffering is an extreme word for love, right? It's love, it's sacrifice. What are you willing to pour into it, right? Because I think all too often, I remember I quit baseball because I couldn't hit, right? I didn't realize that the reason why I couldn't hit was I swung at the ball like 100 times a year. Well, of course I was going to be good at it. I needed someone to say, hey, knucklehead, listen, you got to get to the batting cage and swing 10,000 times and then come back next year, right? So what the book is it's a back and forth conversation between chosen suffering, which is the things that we do to put ourselves. I don't know anybody that's climbed really high in life in any area that hasn't chosen to do the extra. Why am I going to do it? Because no one else is willing to do it. That's why I'm going to do it. Yeah, I love it too, but no one else, I'm going to give this much. So chosen suffering aligns with unchosen suffering. So the book is basically about the things in my life that I chose that were really hard and helped me. But also, they took me to a certain place of learning, but there was a scenario in my life that was unchosen suffering that broke me, that brought me to my knees. And I go back and forth on the comparison between the two and how critical suffering is in our life. And we know this, right? Suffering is long studied, right? And the great leaders of all time have all suffered. And so that's kind of what the book is about. It's a couple of stories, and obviously a story in there about the Steiners and what they did to me when I first met them, how they beat me unmercifully, and how
Coach,
they
before you go on, okay, I heard that story a little differently. All right, from the Steiner brothers. I think you might have that a little clouded. All right?
Listen, I left the room crying. I was in my car crying. I'm telling you, the loser, the guy that receives the beating has a much better recall than the guy that gave the beating.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to point that out, So anyway, really keep going, please.
So I tell that story. When I first met the Steiners, and honestly, I didn't know who they were. Right? I didn't know who they were, but I learned right away who they were, and they became lifelong friends to me, guys that I would do anything for. They were really influential people, and they still are. So, but anyway, yeah. So I tell that story. I tell a couple of stories that, that just really, just help me, right? Help me move forward.
Give us an example.
Really? Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. I can tell you. So in the late 80s, right? In the late 80s, Iowa, they were just dominant, right? They were dominant, and that's always where I wanted to wrestle, but I never got called to be an Iowa wrestler, right? I didn't win the states. I lost. I got hurt my senior year in high school. That was really painful. But even if I won the states, Gable didn't know who I was. He didn't need me, and So, but I loved the place. I went to camp out there over the summer and wanted to go there as a high school wrestler because I went to camp there. Heffernan was one of my coaches, and Roy South. Some of these guys were just superstars in my mind. But anyway, at some point, I decided that I'm going to leave a full scholarship. I was at Syracuse with my brother. We were roommates. I'm going to leave a full scholarship and just show up at Iowa. So basically, I drive across the country. I show up at Iowa. I knew the place well because I went to camp there every summer for a month. Jay Robinson was there at the time. Anyway, I get in the wrestling room, and I'm sitting in the corner, and Gable walks over to me. Now, he's God, right? This is God coming over to me, and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Tom." And he goes, this is all he said to me for a long time. he said, "You're not going to get any better sitting there." And he pointed to these twins. He said, go work out with these two guys. So I look back on it and I think, well, heck, he's good. Now I know what he's doing. He's assessing me against two freaks. Right? He's going to throw me against a couple of freaks. That wasn't nice of him. Right? So I get in there and I just remember how hard the pace of, I was really fit. Like I prided myself on being really fit. But when against these two, the drill was so fast. It was like, as soon as you got taken down, everybody here watching, anybody watching knows what drilling is. You drill, you kind of hop back up. These guys were up in like an instant. And the average drill is maybe a shot every 10 seconds. With these guys, it was every like 5 seconds, 3 seconds. And it's just got me so tired. And the drill went on for like 45 minutes. And then Gable said time. And I remember thinking, thank God. And that was a really hard workout. I mean, I was breaking. And he said time. And I was like, that was a great practice. And then he said this. He said, are you guys warm? And I thought, oh, Lord, did he just say, are you warm? This is going to be awful. Anyway, then I got to wrestle live with him. And all I remember was going into my car and crying a lot. They don't know this, right? They weren't sitting in the car with me, but I grabbed my stuff. I got humiliated. I got beat unmercifully. And I went in my car. But what I needed, right, what I longed for in life was truth. Right? I always longed for truth. Give me some truth. Please don't take it easy on me. You know, and the thing that I loved about the Steiners is, listen, they did not care how I was feeling. And it wasn't their job to care how I was feeling. All they were concerned with was improving and getting better and attacking, because they wanted to put themselves in a tougher situation than they would ever face in competition. And the only way to do that is to drive yourself. And they did that. And I was the recipient of their truth. And it literally changed my wrestling career.
So let's stick with truth. And I know we're running, I know we've got some time, Frank. We're going to get into what but yeah. Truth. Now, Coach, you've had a great run at Ohio State, especially these last, 5, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 years, top 4 in the past 8 years. Fantastic, winning in 2015. You know, athletes are tough. You deal with truth. How do you approach that? You know, I mean, some of them need to hear something, right? Time to time.
Yeah, I think all leaders do 3 things extremely well, right? The first thing that they do extremely well is their examples, right? Their examples. When I went to the University of Iowa, I was around a bunch of leaders, and they were just great examples, right? The Steiners, I mean, these guys had great faith. They trained hard. They never drank, right? You know, all through college, these guys never drank, right? So they weren't there for that, right? They had a purpose, and nothing could pull them off course. So Coach Gable was a great example. So they're all great examples. The second thing is that they embrace pain and suffering. Leaders embrace discomfort. That's what they do. That's how they handle situations. And then the third thing is they share truth and love, right? And there's, you know, I read a book called 100% Grace, 100% Truth, right? That's what, you know, I have a strong belief that Jesus was who he said he was, right? And he was 100% of both. It wasn't 50-50. He's 100% of both. And now every conversation, you know, that we want to share the perfect words with somebody. We want to share, you know, complete grace and complete love in the same sentence, right? I know this. Sometimes people have shared too much truth with me. And it's like, my wife does it all the time, right? She'll say something to me. It's all truth. And I'm like, I'm not listening to you anymore. That was me, right? And then sometimes, right, somebody will share too much grace with you. Listen, I'm a man. Give it to me straight, right? Give me straight. You're patronizing me, man. Tell me like it is. And it's this perfect combination that leaders are able to do and share. And we have a very open environment at Ohio State. I mean, there's trust there. There's great trust there. Listen, let's say practice happens and I'm, you know, I maybe I challenge somebody in a way that maybe, you know, maybe I was too emotional about it, right? Who knows, right? So afterward, they come to me. They come to me and say hey, that kind of got to me. All right, let's talk about it, man. You know what? You're right. You're right. You know, so I think just really being open and real, and that, listen, just because I'm the coach at Ohio State doesn't mean I got it all figured out. Doesn't mean I'm right. So I think that's just a really important thing. Vulnerability, showing that you're vulnerable and you don't have it all figured out. I think that goes a long way in trust. So I'd say those are the three components for me. When I think of leaders, I think they do all those things extremely well.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and I'm just going to tag on to that. I think Coach Ryan is right. I mean, I think as a leader, I think sometimes you want to think you know everything, right? You want to think that you have all the answers and this and that, but I think over time you realize you don't, and you're going to learn just as much from your athletes as you do from anyone, right? As they learn from you, and I've realized that you don't always have to be right. You don't always have to have the right thing to say. You can show your vulnerabilities, like Coach Ryan was saying, but you have to be real. You have to be real. You have to show the emotions that are within you at the moment, right? You can't, if you're pissed off about something, it's okay to show it. No, you can show it in a way that's not so taxing on the individual you're talking to, but you have to show and release what you're feeling inside, and you have to be true and honest and real. You don't always have to be right. I mean, you're going to make mistakes always, right? And anything we do, we're going to make mistakes, but we have to be real doing it.
Super.
That's
Frank.
fantastic. So, hey guys, kind of, this is a great call, and we kind of hate to break it up, but we want to make sure we get a little shout out to our sponsor here. So, Team USA Wrestling, or Team USA Energy and Ambit Energy have been able to partner up and make sure that these calls are possible every Thursday. So we want to make sure to give an opportunity for them to speak here. So here's a word from Rich Bender.
Hey folks, it's Rich Bender here at USA Wrestling. We hope that everybody out there is staying safe and healthy. Thanks for taking the time to get on the webinar with Coach Steiner today. I hope the information he gives you will be helpful as we all deal with the pandemic and how we can keep focused and make the most of this time. Our partnership with Ambit Energy provides unique opportunities for USA Wrestling members to save money on their energy bills and possibly even generate funds for the wrestling program. If you want to learn more about how you can get involved, Coach Steiner will give you that information. Thanks again, and stay safe and healthy and focused.
Hi, my name's Todd Valley. I'm a recently retired wrestling coach. I've coached 40 years from the elementary to the high school level, either as an assistant or as a head coach. I served 25 years with the Indiana State Wrestling Association, 13 years as a kids director, 5 years as the vice chair of the organization, 5 as the women's director. About 4 years ago, Olympic coach Terry Steiner showed us and introduced us to Ambit Energy and showed us how we could save a little bit of money on a gas bill we were already paying. And if we referred 15 friends and family, we could possibly get it for free. In a short amount of time, we were able to do that. And for about 3 years now, we've been getting our gas supply for free. Since then, all right, we introduced an Amish guy to the same program, and he has a woodworking factory, and he was able to start saving money on a gas bill he was already paying. And since then, referred friends and family, and now he gets his gas for free. He just was real excited this week when he got his gas bill. It was $948.58 for the gas portion of the bill. Ambit Energy sent him a check, all right, for the exact same amount. $948.58. And what's really great is the Penn Wrestling Club, where I was coaching at, gets a little piece of all those gas bills for all those friends and family that we recommended the savings to. So it's been quite amazing for us. It's been quite amazing for my buddy who has a woodworking factory, and quite amazing for the Penn Wrestling Club.
So that partnership, like I said, has been able to put these webinars together every week. And we said every week, this is our third installment.
I bet you remember where you were when it happened, what you were doing, what you were thinking, probably what you were wearing. When the aha moment happened,
make sure that we get this turned off here.
There
There we go.
Live video.
We're not tech geniuses here, but like I said, this is our third week. So we've got the next 3 weeks already planned out. Next week we've got Helen Maroulis, Olympic champion. Helen Maroulis is going to be on doing the exact same thing, sharing her testimony, some of her adversities. Right after that, we're going to have freestyle coach Bill Zadek on, a teammate with these guys as well as the University of Iowa. So that'll be great to have his leadership on and share his testimony. And then on May 21st, we're going to have a very interesting character on. who's very opinionated, and we know it'll be a great time, and that's going to be Ben Askren. Okay, 4-time NCAA finalist, 2-time champ, 2-time Hodge Trophy winner. So it'll be great to have him on. So that'll be the next 3 weeks. So make sure you guys are tuning in to USA Wrestling, to their social media post. We'll have some emails going out here soon. Got those scheduled, so it'll be it'll be good to have you guys keep coming on and see the testimony from these great individuals that we have. So Alex, go right ahead.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we keep on giving you these tidbits of information. Tom, this is awesome. This is priceless stuff. Terry, great things, and so many. I want to remember that we have a group of high school athletes and parents and high school coaches that are on. So let's talk about the same thing. What should these coaches be looking for and talking to their out-of-season athletes that are losing their spring season now? Fargo, I don't know if Fargo's happening, the freestyle states, all that kind of stuff. Can you guys just touch on that? A lot of frustration out there.
Yeah, I think, it's what I've talked about before. I think it's just, you got to focus on what you can control. There's so many things in life we can't control. But yet we can't use that as an excuse, right? There's always a reason not to do something. There's always a reason I can't do this because the wrestling room isn't open. Now I can't lift weights because the weight room isn't open. I don't have a partner. I get a social distance, so I can't wrestle with someone every day. I mean, we can always have those reasons, but you have to find the reason why you're going to do something, and what your goal is, and find a way to get it done no matter what the circumstance. And right now we're in a tough circumstance. There's no doubt about it. But someone's going to handle this in the right way, right? And it might be your opponent that you're going to have to wrestle to win the state title, right? And you've got to find a better way through this than that person. That's what it comes down to. And so, it's just, you got to think about this as like a preseason period. You should be doing the right things nutritionally. Maybe if you're not doing as much output, you've got to do a little bit less intake, right? And you got to take less calories in, right? You still got to come back in a good level of fitness. The one thing that Coach Gable always talked about at the University of Iowa is maintaining a great level of fitness, and you never dip below a certain point. And I don't care if it's in season or out of season or whenever it is. You always have to keep a level of fitness that you're not that far away from where you can step on the mat and perform. And really I've tried to live my life in that way, right? Like, I'm going to do something every day to keep myself as healthy as I can be, so I can be there for a long time, right? And I can be there when the times come around that count, right? Whether that's for a competition coming up, or whether that is to be there for my grandkids someday, right? I mean, you want to be ready for those moments, and you've got to take care of yourself to do that. So, find the reasons why you want to do something, and I think it's a lot easier to find your way through problems and through issues.
Coach, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. No, that's just good stuff. I would say that, obviously we've got college wrestlers, right? They're in the same situation. So a couple things I think that some of our guys are doing. First and foremost, Coach Steiner pointed it out, is you got to be curious. You got to be a problem solver, right? You don't have a pull-up bar, go use a branch, go climb a tree, right? So you got to be a problem solver. You got to be. I'm not around anybody that's climbed really high that doesn't solve problems, right? And right now you've got a problem, and if you really want to solve it, then you'll solve it. So our guys, some of our guys, let's say that we got a guy that, hey, like I said before, I knew when I was tired coming into practice, if I was tired, that I needed to go with a Steiner, right? Because they were never tired, right? You could guarantee they were always going to give a lot. So I wanted to pull me through. So the buddy system, we have guys that use the buddy system at Ohio State. Hey, listen, we're going to hold each other accountable, right? The Navy SEAL system, right? The buddy system, no man left behind, right? If you're struggling, don't go dark. Speak out. tell someone, hey, I'm having a hard time right now. Can you help me? Hey, at 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll Zoom each other. We'll call each other. The technology is incredible right now. We have our entire team on an app called Strava. It's a great running app. So any teams out there that are, listen, they're struggling a bit, get on the Strava app. You can put your team in a group and you can see what they're doing. So I think those are just a couple of things and know that you have to believe this, right? We're looking for truth. Here's truth. You either accept it or you live by what you think is your own truth. And I know a lot of people that live by what they think is their own truth and they get nowhere. They get nowhere. They don't progress. Yeah, you don't have to figure it out. Stop thinking you do, because your truth, your set of rules does not apply. You'll never get there in your set of rules. Here are the set of rules. And the thing that Coach Steiner just pointed out was when Gable said something, we did it. Stay fit. Okay, stay fit. Trust him. So, so stay fit, man. Solve the problem. Buddy system. Get onto the app. And know that this time of the year, think about what you were doing last time this time of the year, right? So any wrestler out there or anybody, whatever you were doing this time of the year last year, if you're not doing that now, and you had good results this year. So you had good results this year. And last year, you better look back at last year, what you were doing at this time. And I guarantee you that you were doing some of the really good things. April, May, June impacts March, the following March. So, listen, the reality is that if you don't believe that, you'll get beat by someone who does. It's pretty simple.
That's great. That's great. And so I know we're going to get to questions with Coach Baumgartner, but I want to touch on something else with you, Coach Ryan. When you're talking about this type of athlete, when you're looking for recruits, tell us about your process. What are you looking for?
Yeah, so we've got a great recruiting coordinator. His name is Anthony Ralph. He was at Notre Dame College. He won a couple of titles there with them. He's a really good recruiter. Obviously, I have a great staff that I lean on. Sure. Right? I have a great staff. Tervel Delegnev is a savant, from a mind savant. I mean, he's like a Jedi, right? And then Jaggers is a technical. He's great technically. And Bo Jordan is just a great human being who's an animal as well. Riley, so I got a great staff. I'm around great people. Here's what we do. So first thing is we know exactly what we're looking for, right? So we tell every recruit, right, what things are you assessing? What things are you assessing? What school are you going to choose, right? Are you just going to think about the biggest decisions of our lives, right? Anybody listening, like what is the biggest decision of your life? Okay, what school I'm going to go to? Well, who am I going to wrestle for? What job am I going to choose? How many children am I going to have? Who am I going to marry, right? These are massive decisions who's my inner circle going to be? These are massive decisions that determine the direction of our life, right? Now, the biggest decision, I believe, bigger than all those, is whether God is real or not, right? But that's another topic, another time. But is he real or not, right? Figuring that one out is way more important than who you're going to marry. But who you're going to marry is really important too, right? So there'd be like 1A and 1B. So listen, anyway, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
You're talking about your recruits and some of the ones you messed up along the way.
Thank you. Recruiting, man. I confused myself. So here's what we do, right?
I love wrestling.
Yeah, I love it. I got serious ADD. So look, here's the deal, right? So what we do is this. First, to a recruit, you got to know what you're looking for. You have to know what you want, right? So we know exactly what we're looking for. We have a scoring system. Coach Ralph put a scoring system together. Look, it's not perfect, but we know what we're looking for. And then we do this. Everybody put their hand out like this. Go ahead. Everyone put their hand out like this together, right? Here's how we vote. This is old school. We learned this from Bill Talib, Chet Scott, Bill Talib. I do not want to influence my staff in any way where they won't speak up. They're brilliant. I want their input. So basically, here's the bottom line. If you think this is a good idea, don't do it. We'll count to 3. This is how we vote. If you think this is a good idea, on a count of 3, put your thumb up. If you think this is a bad idea, on a count of 3, put your thumb down. So if you like this potential recruit, put your thumb up. If you don't, put it down. Because I don't want to interject. I'm the head coach. So I don't want to have my. So here we go. If you think it's a good idea, ready? 1, 2, 3. Right. So this is how we vote, right? This is how we gather all this information. Listen, we want we want students. We want people that love, right? We love the sport, high emotional intelligence. We look at their webpage. We look at their Instagram. We look at their Twitter. What do they follow? Who do they follow? What are they talking about? Listen, we look at how much success they've had. We look at how long they've been wrestling. We look at how much they win matches by. We look at their aggression. How aggressive are they? Right? Aggression develops. Passivity doesn't. Right? So give me someone that's attacking someone, they will develop. Give me someone who's afraid to take good risks, they won't. So we have a sheet that scores, and then we come up with a score. And look, we look for someone that doesn't blame somebody when they lose, like I often do with the officials, right? We look at someone that does exactly the opposite.
That's okay. That's different. That's different. That's
right,
okay.
right. So we look at is it, hey, it was on me. It was on me. So we interview them. We go to a lot of resources. We just don't go to one resource. We go to multiple, not just their coach, other coaches, competitors, teammates. So we get a really good idea. And look, you don't always get the ones, your number one choices, but it definitely, right? People are the lifeline to success. God's people are the lifeline, right? And if you choose the right ones, your chance of moving forward is really good. If you choose the wrong ones, your chance diminished greatly.
You ever have one you really screwed up on, Coach?
Oh my God!
Hold on. No, I got to interrupt this one. Yeah. So we talked about this the other day. Being an Indiana guy, like we had a pretty good one just come out that you said you kind of looked at, but come on, tell me about Mason Paris.
Listen, our formula has holes in it, man. Yeah, I love Mate. Listen, I love Schoenborg. Schoenborg is a great guy doing a great job at Michigan. They got a great heavyweight Mason. And we just, I don't know if we could have got him or not, right? But the bottom line was he was a superstar. But like Gregor Gillespie, I go back in my mind. And I am, as much as I preach, you got to move forward. Forget about it, man. Move forward. I'm a bit of a ruminator. I'll still move forward, but I'll ruminate. I'll be like, man, how did I miss that? How stupid am I? I'm so stupid. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, real world. Hey, Frank, let's get to some questions for these guys. I know there's got to be some good ones.
Yeah. So one of them that we had, this is more for Coach Steiner. We've had a couple that have been on now all 3 weeks, and they've kind of seen that this has been put together with Team USA Energy and then with Ambit Energy. So they asked the question, how does Ambit Energy work with our wrestling programs, fundraising, whatever? How does this work? How do you see it?
Well, Ambit Energy came on board as a corporate sponsor of USA Wrestling. So there's some monies up front right there that they give the organization. And then every energy bill that comes in to Ambit Energy, as if you choose Ambit Energy as your service, a portion of it, all of those proceeds come back to our national teams and to support our national teams. And that can also, the good thing about it is how it's set up is it can also help your local clubs and your local organizations as well. So it's a win-win-win situation all the way around.
Gotcha. And just like we do these webinars, we actually host meetings on Monday and Wednesday nights at 7:30 Eastern time. That actually talk more about just Ambit specifically and what it could do for individuals. So I'll go ahead. I'm putting that link in the chat here right now. So Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, if anybody wants to get on and learn a little bit more about that specifically, there's an opportunity that you can do so. So this one's from Matt. It's intended a little more for Coach Ryan, but obviously Coach Steiner, chip in. So what initiatives do you use to build team culture? They really like the black shirt, but then they're at the high school level. So what's some things they could do to help build team culture?
So right now, what we're doing is so obviously the black shirt, helped quite a bit. So we're very careful about what we talk about, right? We don't really talk about winning that much. And I think Terry can attest I don't remember one meeting ever where Gable talked about winning or being the national championship team. It's just not. Listen, Terry did not need Dan Gable to say you can win the nationals, right? It's a stress increaser, right? Our responsibility is to reduce stress. So we're very careful with what we say, and the things that we say are things that they can control. This is all a lot of this, Terrell's helped with this a bunch, but you can't control winning. We think we can, but we cannot, right? But what you can control are the things that I felt and experienced as a competitor and training alongside the Steiners and other tough guys there. We just had an incredible environment at the time, an incredible team. Who knew, looking back at it, right? You would say, now that it's being looked as one of the best teams of all time, the 91, 92 teams. You didn't know that when you're in the midst of it. But the things that you control, your effort, your timeliness, your body language, the way you treat your teammates. We have different awards that, listen, not everyone's going to win a national title. In fact, of the 350,000 wrestlers in this country, 10 win it a year on the Division I level. I mean, so your odds, if you're basing your life around winning a championship, and that's going to determine who you are and what you're all about, you're following something that ultimately will lead to disappointment, right? So we try to put things in place that go beyond just winning. Now, don't get me wrong. We've got lots of signs up for all of our champions, but we have something called the Battling Buckeye. Gavin Hoffman won it this year. He wasn't a starter, but he was a guy that made a difference. A lot of guys make a difference in the league, but every single day, this guy would come in and give and give. So we honor him. So basically we look at things that are completely in their control, and we recognize it. That's just one. I think that's one area that we focus on as a program.
Right. And coincidentally, I mean, we just went through over the last 5 weeks during this COVID-19 time, we went through a 5-week program, really going back and building our, a team building culture, like seminar for 5 weeks. And what's really interesting about it is, or what I love about it is, it's the athletes doing the building, right? I mean, really as coaches, we step back and they're the ones talking. They're building it for themselves. They're building the things that they're looking at. They're a part of the planning. It's not, and one of the things, and I'll get back to that, but one of the things the other day, Tom, that we were talking about on Sunday, I believe, was, you said something that really hit me hard and stuck to me. And you said, greatness is not derived from education, right? Nobody can tell you something that's going to make you great. Greatness is derived from desire, right? And I love that quote. But when we're building this team culture, I mean, what I love about it is, you'd think we're working with elite athletes, and we know that ultimately they're looking for Olympic success and greatness, right? But when they're talking about their ultimate goal of and what that is as part of this team, and the top of the pyramid that they built is the best version of themselves, right? They want to be the best version of themselves, no matter what that is, and they come back to the values and the behaviors that create that. Right? What values do you need to have? What behaviors do you need to have? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want this team to be looked at like? And they want to be the standard, right? They want to be the standard that not just the young girls that are wrestling within this country that are looking up to them anyways, but they want to be the standard for the rest of the world. They want to be the standard that, look at Team USA, look at how they act, look at how they carry themselves, look at how they speak, look at how they dress, and that's what's really inspiring to me, is that, that they're looking at the real things that we're learning from sport, the true gifts of the sport, right? And they're putting it down on paper and building their own culture. And it's really awesome to see as a coach, just kind of sitting back and watching their minds at work. And that's really what will guide our team into 2021.
Yeah, I want to add to that if I could. Do I got another minute or so to add? I mean, I was just
Absolutely.
he's got me thinking, right? He's got me. Coach Steiner's got me thinking here. So it's like, you know, when I reflect on my life, being a part of a team, the main love that I had for wrestling was the team aspect, right? That got me into it, right? When I was in 7th grade, I didn't know I was going to, you know, be the 158 pounder for Iowa, right? When I was in 7th grade, all I knew was that I wanted to make friends, right? And I liked tough things, right? Even then, right? So the team side of it, I think it's so critical for coaches to write their opus, their overarching vision of their program. Listen, the reality is you may have 1 or 2 state champions in your career, but you can touch the lives of so many, right? And so the end goal, right? The end goal is to impact lives, right? And the number of kids that need someone, you know, one of the great coaches in high school, I'm a good friend, he's a good friend of mine, is Dave Kroll. He's so good at what he does, the Nazareth coach in Pennsylvania, right? He gets it. He gets it. He cares about these people, and he has a system that, you know, they're loved, and it's about camaraderie and teamwork and sacrificing for each other, because the reality is that, listen, there's not that many superstars, right? So that's a big piece of it. For me, it's what got me involved in the sport. It's what kept me involved in the sport. In 8th grade, they moved me to varsity, and I was automatically protected in the school. I was in 8th grade. I was a little weasel. I mean, I was a little weasel walking around the school. You know, my coach used to joke around. He said, you had 18-inch arms. You have 18-inch arms, 9 on one side, 9 on the other. Right? I mean, he was busting on me, right? But I was you know, I was in an environment with the varsity guys, the seniors and juniors in high school. They looked out for me. I had a network of friends. I had friends. And it was so critical in my development as a person, you know, and it helped me so much. What we do now, even in college, right? Even in college, we do this. Right now, we have Zooms like we're having now. We have by classes. So to Terry's point, Coach Donna's point, it's so much better when it's peer driven. Listen, of course the coach is going to say to do this and do that. But to have a peer, I remember Sean Kelly, Brian Leader, I can tell you names of guys, Judd Gerber. Hey, dude, you're a great athlete. We need you. You weigh this much weight. We need that weight. You're wrestling. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You're wrestling, and you're going to help us, and you watch what you learn when you're wrestling. And they fell in love with it. And our team was really good because we were in the hallways pulling people in. The dual meet, which is why I love the dual meet so much. That's another topic. But right now, what we do is we have a leader of each class. So there's a freshman class leader, 2 of them. There's a sophomore class, junior class coming in, whoever you came in with. And they meet like this, and they talk, and they discuss things, and they lean on each other. And, hey, you didn't get your miles in this week. What's going on? And I think that's just a really powerful thing to figure out who your leaders are. And then, because here's a general statement. 10% of your organization is elite, 80% are really committed, and then 10% should probably not be there, right? They're just completely uninvested, right? So you need to get the 10% to pull the 80% up, right? Because the more, right? So if I think they got to pull up. So you got to get the guys on your team pulling up in a way that's productive, that's caring, that's sharing truth and love. So.
Hey, I think we got time for one more question, Frank. Why don't you throw it out there, and then let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go 2 questions. One is I want to go ahead and be pretty short. So, Coach Ryan, what's the title of your book that you have your team read the first year? Talking about leadership. Do you remember?
Might have been Good to Great or The Principle of the Path by Andy Stanley. Good to Great, Jim Collins. I mean. Outliers by John Maxwell, Outliers by not John Maxwell, Outliers by, I can't remember the name of the author. A fantastic book, explains what we're talking about in a very digestible way. I only read things about God or things about leadership. And now and then I'll read things about stocks. So I don't recommend that, but I read things about stocks and trying to retire early.
Good. And you know what, Frank, if we could type those in the chat so these guys have those titles, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, he's gonna.
Well,
Coach,
maybe Tom will type it in for us.
There you go, Coach. You're gonna have to type those in or repeat them for us.
Yeah, just so that they can get those titles.
Yeah.
They can look up the authors themselves.
I think it was Good to Great. Yeah.
Okay.
The other question.
All right, here we go. So this one's a little more straightforward here. So we have, obviously we got this pandemic going on, but removing that, you know, when you're talking about your suffering, and we're talking about our young kids now, our youth, all the way through, maybe through high school, those that are, I want to say, a little more of a casual wrestler rather than we're talking an elite level athlete. The whole goal is to make it fun, right? We want to keep kids in this sport because we all know what this sport can do, you know, for us, just teaching life lessons. So we got to keep this fun, but yet at the same time, we know the sport's a grind. So how can we kind of balance that act with our young kids? How can we teach them that there's times when you're going to have to suffer through a workout or a situation or whatever, but overall keep their experience fun?
Hey, if you can solve that problem, you're a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm a high school coach. You're a college coach, man.
No, Frank, you get it. No,
You
Frank,
gotta be
you're
the expert.
living it, man. I mean, you've been doing a great high school coach. You understand. Listen, you dealt with more things on that level than I've had to deal with, right? But ultimately, it has to be right. It absolutely has to be enjoyable, right? But here's the thing, right? I think developing a mindset in young people that, look, the reality is that choose the hard way, right? Choose the hard way. There's a truth about life, and the truth about life in general is that those that are curious, that move towards suffering, do far better than those that don't. Right? That's just a reality of life. I think some of the fun stuff is developing camaraderie. You know, having things where they get together. And I just remember getting together with my buddies and watching the match after. And they had the identity doesn't become, look, most of them aren't superstars. Most of them are out after 2 rounds in the tournament and they sit there all day, right? So that's why I'm a big proponent of dual meets, where you're in a dual meet, you're an integral part of it, and then you're out. But that's enough. I keep going to dual meets and saying it's another topic, but I keep bringing them up. But just creating, you know, an environment where ultimately, you know, listen, people are deeply attracted to love. They're attracted to love. The number one reason why I moved toward God was when I read about him and learned about him. I felt this love that was incomprehensible, right? So it's this love. It's love that moves us. And listen, love isn't always soft and cushy. So love is tough. Love is you're not going to the prom. You did something stupid. Love is you're grounded, you little clown. I know what you did last night, right? I mean, love is I love you. Let's go have dinner together, right? So love is, and I don't know. There's no perfect way, but I think if someone truly feels your love, they'll move towards you.
Fantastic. What a fantastic call. What a great way to sum this up. Coach Ryan, I hope you will come back and visit with us again. Do you have a date set for the release? I know this kind of screwed up. It was supposed to.
There'll be a pre-release, like May 17th is a pre-release, and it's chosensuffering.com is the website.
Okay.
And it's just a bunch of learning through my 50 years. And it's great to see you guys. And Terry Steiner knows I love him to death, man. This guy's a game changer. So love you, man.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on. You're a wealth of knowledge, and it's awesome to have you. Next week, May 7th, it'll be Helen Morales. The 14th, Bill Zadek, and the 21st, Ben Askren. We hope that you guys will join us again. Coach Steiner?
Spread the word.
Yeah, Coach
thank you, Tom, for being on. It's always great to be in your company and to listen and learn from you. Thanks, Frank and Alex, for mediating the call and doing all this. And thank you all for being on the call. I think, I'm learning a lot of things. I'm writing things down as Tom is speaking. And
me too. Got my pen.
I think you're always learning, right? And we can always find better ways of doing things. And just really appreciate the time that we have, right? It's one of the blessings, I guess, of the time we have. We found Zoom, and all of a sudden we're using it in a different way that we've never used it before. And hopefully a lot of people can take advantage of it, and that's what we're trying to do, is just give out some good information, and hopefully people can grab onto it and use it in their lives. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Frank, wrap it up.
No, really, again, there's nothing else to add, guys. Next week, like I said, let's hear from an Olympic champ. Let's get on. It's free. Share the word. If nothing else, we got to grow. Both these guys said it. We have to grow during this time. And if you can't do it right now, physically training, going on a run, going wrestling room, hitting single legs, whatever we're doing, let's grow as a person, whether it's spiritually, mentally, or, visualization, whatever it is. I mean, I was taking notes on that tonight even. So, let's hear from the best. And, we get to do that from the comfort of our home for free. So make sure your athletes, your coaches, your friends, family, whatever. This is not wrestling specific. Someone said that in the chat tonight. It's not wrestling specific. This is about life, how to be successful in life. So bring anybody on. Okay. Again, time's valuable even during COVID. We appreciate all you guys being on here. Coach Ryan, really appreciate you. Terry, really appreciate you. Alex, thanks for mediating here with me. So, great evening. Appreciate all you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.